Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name's Christopher Holt, and today I'd like to talk to you about the shocking truth about food labels. Food labels are great things that get manipulated, that get sort of the rules get bent on them. There's a lot of grey areas around them, and when it comes to people food shopping, it's one of the last things that people look at. So what we're going to do is we're going to explore what these food labels are all about, what they're telling us. We're going to look at not just the nutritional facts, as you can see on the picture here, but we're also going to be looking at the packaging. You might be able to just see very faded out there, but we'll close this window down and we'll open up the window underneath, and we'll actually look at the packaging and what that's telling us, and what that's initially saying to us on face value, and then we'll sort of delve a little bit deeper on what it's really telling us. We're also going to explore a lot more in the way of sort of marketing terminology, so we'll come to that in another video. We're going to look at what the Food Standards Agency are, who they are, and what they do, what's their sort of level of input that they can put in. We're going to be looking at the food labels themselves in this one. We're going to be looking at sort of the big business, we're going to be looking at buying habits, and we're going to be looking at the individuals as well, the individuals that buy these products. And we'll look at that in the last video. So to begin with, first of all, we're going to look at these nutritional facts or nutritional values that are held within foods, and what's written on them and what do they mean. We're also going to look at the ingredients, which is a little bit further down here. So we're going to be looking at the ingredients, so what the foods actually hold within them. What do some of these words mean? Because there's a lot of words on here that I don't quite know what they are. There's a lot of stuff on there that I do know what it is, and it's not the greatest stuff in the world. But there's some stuff on there that I don't know. Stuff on there that I can't even pronounce. Let alone know what it is. So the food we're going to be looking at, not to single them out in any way, but it's just a nice sort of company to look at, and some nice products to look at, because the way they sort of are marketed, they don't actually say these are health products, but they give off the perception that they're sort of a healthy option, and they're good for you and things like that. But we're going to explore sort of how good are they. So what needs to go on a food label? Well, there needs to be certain elements that need to go on a food label, and what they say is that they're not meant to mislead. So a few of the things that need to go on there, sort of the manufacturer's details, so who's making it. Things like total volume or weight of the product, the date mark best before, things like that. Storage instructions, so it might say store in a sort of cold, a cool, dark place, or wherever it might be. And potential allergens, so like might contain nuts and might contain wheat or milk, or little things like that. And also, I want to share with you some interesting. Before we actually get into the nuts and bolts of what this is saying, but sort of more the what's been found, and how accurate food labels are, because as you can see here, these food labels, they contain all the different macronutrients. So fats, carbs, protein, they're called macronutrients. So it's got to supply the sort of the gram and the value that's held within that. Now, when you read that, you will think that the gram, so total fat 2 grams, you think this product contains 2 grams of fat. Well, that's not quite the truth. In recent studies, they did a research study on 70 different products, and they tested for 570 different nutrients. Now, only 7% actually matched the stated value. Okay, so when you look at this and it says 17 grams, 3 grams of fibre, 7 grams of sugar, 1 gram of protein, 2 grams of fat, only 7 out of 70 products and 570 nutrients, only 7% match that number. So that doesn't necessarily have to be 2 grams. Okay, and now this is what else they found. Almost 1/5 contain levels outside of the generous 20% margin of error. Okay, so food companies are given a 20% margin of error. So when you look at total carbohydrates, that number there, 17 grams, could be 20% higher or lower than that number. Okay, sugar could be 20% higher or lower than that number. Fat could be 20% higher or lower than that number. That's the margin they're given. But 1/5, this is the sort of the next bit, but 1/5 was found to contain levels outside of that. So 1/5 would contain more than 20% higher or lower, more than 20% higher or lower than fat. Okay, so this is the sort of information that people need to know, because what's written in front of them, face value, isn't necessarily true. Okay, this is why food labels, or food labelling and food labelling education is so important, because even if you look down at vitamins, they're saying you're getting 10% of your recommended RDA. You might not be. You could be getting 20% lower than that. You could be getting over 20% lower than that. You could be getting 20% higher than that. You just don't know. These products are, I can only imagine, these products are sort of given their nutritional value before they go through any of the process. So they're taking just sort of a general norm of it's about this now, put it through the process, put it through all the processing that it goes through, and it might be completely different. Okay, so that's, I guess, sort of principle number 1 and sort of lesson number 1 with regards to food labelling, because it is just so ambiguous and so vague. So what we'll do now is we'll move on to the actual ingredients. Now, if we look, when we come onto it, this is a Kellogg's product, and they're saying in this little piece here that it's, I can't remember if it's higher in fibre or sort of added fibre or whatever it might be. But I want us to look at, we're going to come back to this because as, in other videos we're going to be looking at like sweeteners and artificial sugar, added sugars, artificial sweeteners, E numbers, and everything like that. So we're going to be sort of coming back to this this little graphic. But for this video, what I want to sort of share with you is how it's ordered and why they've ordered it in the way they have. Well, basically, every one of these is ordered in a descending value of sort of the percentage or amount that's in it. So with regards to ingredients, so the cereal, so the wheat, whole grain wheat, sugar, wheat bran, all these foods, these are the highest percentage down to the lowest percentage. So if we're looking at, let's see, well, the cereals, they're obviously the highest in there. They're also talking about it's a raspberry flavour. Now, which is not, again, it's not necessarily that they're lying, but if you look at that, there are no raspberries in it. So if you look at that, I can't see anything that says raspberry on there. Okay, and it's not until we get, here we go, raspberry puree concentrate. And then you've got natural and artificial flavours. So if we're looking, and that is, let's say that's 2/3 of the way down. So there isn't a great deal of raspberry in there. So what they're sort of saying as a raspberry flavour is not necessarily true, but all these little red bits, there's a good chance that they aren't raspberry. They're probably something else, but they're given raspberry puree concentrate with natural and artificial flavourings. Okay? And it just sort of brings to light what is really in these products. Because again, if we come back up to the nutritional facts, let's look at this. So we've got total fat. Total fat in per serving. So we've got 2 grams of fat. But saturated fat makes up 3/4 of it. So your healthy oils, your healthy fats, mono and polyunsaturates, are 0.25 for maybe monounsaturates and 0.25 for polyunsaturates, which are your healthy fats. Now, saturated fats are essential, but not in that ratio. And again, when we come down to total carbohydrates of 17 grams, what they're saying is extra fibre or added fibre or high in fibre or something. We'll have a look at that in a minute. But dietary fibre, 3 grams. And then we look at sugar, which is over double the amount of fibre. So why aren't they marketing it as a high sugar product? Because there's double the amount of fibre. Sorry, there's double the amount of sugar as with regards to fibre, but they're marketing it as fibre. But again, they're not lying to say there's fibre in it, because there's 3 grams of it, and it might be higher than the normal. But again, what they're not telling you is that there's over double the amount of sugar in there. So they're marketing on the good stuff and not telling you about the bad stuff. Okay, which is, it's kind of normal, because if they told you about the bad stuff, then there's a good chance you wouldn't buy it. So this video is about waking people up. It's about educating people. It's about opening people's eyes. It's about expanding their knowledge. It's about expanding their awareness of what these companies, what these products, what they are about. What's the real view? What's the whole story? They're telling you the good stuff. I'm going to tell you some more of the bad stuff. If some people tell you the bad stuff, I'll tell you some of the good stuff. There's going to be some positive to come out of this. There's going to be some negatives to come out of this. So we're going to explore the whole thing. So this kind of brings us to the end of the first video, where we've looked at, how they're marketing it. Extra fibre. Well, there's 3 grams, and then there's over double the amount of sugar. There's 2 grams of fat, and 3/4 of that is saturated fat, not your healthy oils. There's a quarter of, say, healthy oils in there, or healthy fats. So when it comes to people's perception of this maybe being like a healthy product, is it really? Is it really? Okay, and then when it comes to ingredients, raspberry puree, concentrate, natural and artificial flavourings. This is done in a descending order of the amount that's in it. It's 2/3 of the way down, so there really isn't that much in the way of raspberry that's in it. So if you think you're having a healthy option there, it's not, you could say, that healthy. Okay, thanks for listening, and I'll catch up with you in part number 2.